Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Tell Me More show. I'm really excited to introduce you to my special guest this morning. So good morning, Clelia.
Good morning, Kel-Anne. This has been a long time coming, hasn't it?
Oh my gosh, yes. This is Clelia Adams, and we have been trying now for a couple of months to get this going. Because of internet issues. So we're finally here. Yay!
Yay! Lovely to be here with you. I've watched quite a few of your interviews and they're very, very informative. It's lovely to see other performers talking about their lives and how they got to where they are. And I find that stuff more interesting than all the promotional stuff that goes on. You know, I want to know the stories.
Yeah, and how they got to where they are and what's happened along the way. Because we see all the promo stuff on Facebook and other places, but we don't know the real person and what's really going on in their lives.
That's right. That's right.
And that's why I call it the Tell Me More show, because it's like, okay, I know about that, but tell me more.
You want more? I'll give you more.
Exactly.
All
right.
Just before we start rolling, I am just amazed that the few little conversations that we've had already, that you actually grew up around the corner from me in Orange in the central west of New South Wales. How about that? That just is boggling.
It's incredible, isn't it? It really is. And we had no idea, because we've been friends for a few years now. We've been in the industry together for a long, long time, and the music industry together, but we hadn't actually really connected until we did a show with Gina Timms.
That's
back
right.
In 2019, January 2019, I think.
Yes, it would have been just before COVID.
Yes.
Yes.
And that was when we sort of started, communicating with each other and keeping in contact on Facebook and all that sort of stuff.
Right,
So it's been lovely, but it was only just recently that we realized, as Clelia just said, that we realized that
the connection.
Orange, that connection is so, and like you said, like around the corner from each other.
Seriously around the corner. But I knew of you when I first left Tamworth in the year 2000 and moved here to Mullumbimby. I started to get shows in the different clubs and stuff, and I always remember seeing you advertised at Seagulls and the ones up on the coast, that were very, very difficult to get into. I have to say, they have to go through an agent, and I'm a bit of a always go direct with the clubs, or I had one wonderful agent in Tamworth, but it was such a hard thing to get in there. But you know what, Kel-Anne, I actually went to one of those clubs a few times and I saw the artists in the lounge areas, and there were massive crowds everywhere, but you couldn't hear them. You couldn't hear the music, and I thought, I don't really want this gig. I'd be going, stamping my foot, go, look at me.
Well, a lot of the stuff I did in those areas was the guest artist work. Yes, so they're in the auditoriums, people paid to come in. That's and so they kept quiet and watched. But yes, I know about the artists in the lounge. I have done that work too. And
we've all been there, done that, I think.
Oh my God, and the football or the cricket behind you on the screen and everyone cheering that and not you. It's like,
yes.
But let's get started with this. So we can the gaps as we go. So first of all, so you just said that about Orange, but where were you born?
Okay, well, look, I'm an Italian-born Australian. My family migrated here in 1954. I was 4 years old, and it was the post-war migration that was happening all out of Europe, pretty much. It was in a devastated state, as you can imagine, from the war. But Orange was like a central place that a lot of them migrated to and settled in. And I'm talking, the Czechoslovakians, the White Russians, all the Italians, so many different nationalities came to Orange to live, because there was a white goods factory there called Email, would you believe? And it employed all the unskilled workers, so my dad got a job there, my mum got a job, all my uncles and aunties all worked at Email. My little brother actually sort of ran Email for a while when he grew up. And so I had a very multicultural upbringing in those communities, and we all hung together. You know, the Italians actually sort of turned Orange into a food bowl of the Central West. You know, with even my mother alone would have done that. She had we had a massive house block, and she had the whole lot going right up to the back fence, full of vegetables every summer. And you saw Searching for Ali Brandy, the movie. Well, that was my childhood. The tomato bottling, the preserving, you know, the hanging the garlic and the onions and the wood chopping. You know, they lived a self-sufficient lifestyle from the get-go, you know, and I am actually still very much like that myself, because I grew up with it, you know. Yeah. So I grew up in Orange in the Central West, and really it came time, I think, when I turned about 16 or so, you know, there was all this talk about, he's a nicer boy, we like him, you know, sort of trying to get me married off as quickly as possible. And I thought, this is not for me, you know. I saw so many beautiful young Italian brides come out, you know, they were you know, promised to someone in Australia, and they would come as brides. They'd never met each other before. Well, you know, their families knew each other from Italy and stuff, and I feared that was going to be my future. So I took off. I made my way to Sydney and started a whole new life. Mind you, it devastated my family, of course.
It would have been hard for them.
Very hard for them, but they were still living in such an antiquated world mentally, and I had one foot at one camp in my Australian life and what I was interested in, and then holding on to the Italian traditions, you know. And I still do that. And my little brother, he's the one that actually keeps all the tomato preserving, the making of the sausages, and, you know, just all that stuff that was just part of daily life growing up, you know. Wow. So I'm grateful for that. I really am. Yeah.
And so how old did you say you were when you went to Sydney?
I was 16 and 9 months.
Oh, wow. Wow, how brave.
The exact legal age to be able to leave home. But I had some wonderful help. My best girlfriend, her sister lived in St. Peter's, and she let me stay with them for a couple of months until I got my feet on the ground, and turned myself into a city slicker, you know, because this little hill Betty from the country. But I got a job, my first job, well, apart from, you know, in Orange, was at H.G. Palmer in the typing pool. So I had typing skills. And so my first job was Woolies at Town Hall in the typing pool. Yeah, in the typing pool. And which was you know, it was right in the city. I was smack bang in the middle of all this incredible stuff. The thing that was really monumental about that time was that when I was a teenager, and Go Set magazine used to come out, and it was all about music. I was a music nut, as was my brother, who is an exceptional guitarist now. So I got my copy of Go Set. I think I'd only been in Sydney about 6 months, and there was an ad looking for a Girl Friday for the Sydney office that was just about to be set up, you know. And I thought, holy moly, this is it. And the Go Set office was really 2 blocks from Town Hall. So I got up the courage. I rang for an interview, and David Elphick was the editor, and he said, why should I give you this job? You know, why should you get this job? And I said, well, I've read every copy of Go Set from beginning to end since it came out. Have you? And the other thing was that I didn't look like a band mole.
Oh my gosh.
So that began 3-4 years with Go Set magazine, and it was just a phenomenal time. I mean,
how exciting, because that was the magazine. Just describe, Clelia, to people that you know, don't remember it like we do. Describe what that magazine was, what it entailed.
Well, Go Set magazine was actually the first Australian pop magazine. It was the absolute first. And so in a way it was sort of geared to the teeny boppers and the music that was around at the time. I mean, gosh, in the 60s, there was so many bands.
Okay, we had Johnny O'Keefe, we had Cold Joy.
Yeah, all of that. But the ones that came on, you know, Billy Thorpe and the Aztecs, and you know, all the pop stuff that was really, really big at that time. And you know, I made sure I lived close to the city, so I was able to go to the folk clubs, to all the discos, you know, the hair disco, actually Philip Morris. I can say this because I've got his book holding up holding up the iPad. He was the photographer. We were leaving the hair disco one night, and he heard me say to my friend Ronnie that our photographer Goset was leaving to go overseas, and we were a bit worried because we didn't have a photographer. And he introduced himself to me, and he said, you know, I'm a photographer. What's the chances? And I said, well, look, just go ahead and apply. And sure enough, he got the job, Philip Morris. So he gives me a credit at the beginning for telling him to go and have the interview. And there we are. We've been friends all these years. I mean, I lost contact, of course, you know, as time went on, but Facebook now has reconnected me with so many of my old friends that, I mean, you know, really personal ones. So it's been an incredible time. Yeah, absolutely. And I was I ran the office, phones, coffee making, stories. I used to, with Donnie Sutherland's column. Donnie was one of those guys. He was just so full of energy, but you couldn't nail him down. And he didn't write anything down. So I'd sit him down in front of the typewriter, and he'd blab on about all the stuff that he was doing and blah, blah, blah. And I'd sort of do all the corrections, and we'd get a column out of him. But he was wonderful to work with. Molly Meldrum used to turn up from Melbourne often with his entourage of gorgeous young boys, and he was hilarious. You know, I mean, you saw him on Countdown.
Oh yeah,
that's exactly what you got.
And on Hey Hey It's Saturday.
Yeah. So, you know,
do yourself a favor, he used to say. Do yourself a favor, buy this album.
That's right. And, you know, basically it was the Melbourne and the Sydney office to start with, but over the popularity of the magazine became so big that we had Brisbane come online with Michelle O'Driscoll, she was just a most wonderful journalist. Adelaide had got an office, Perth got an office, and so Australia and what they did was they had their local content in the back pages. So all the advertising for Melbourne, you know, all their wonderful discos that they had was in the Melbourne edition, and the Sydney edition had their own, and local, you know, stories on the local bands that hadn't quite made the national status yet, you know.
Yeah.
And it went on for, as I said, about 4 years. But of course, you know, all things must come to an end eventually. And the main drivers of the Go Set magazine was Philip Fraser, who was the Melbourne editor. David Elphick was my editor in Sydney. And in the end, I think Philip needed to move on. He left and brought Rolling Stone into Australia.
Ooh.
So he had that baby. David Elphick also decided that it was time for him to go, and he went on to make surfing movies with Paul Whitsick, you know, or I think he might have had something to do with his name, it'll come to me. But surfing movies, yes, and other movies too. He went into the movie business. And then that was sort of like, I felt really disheartened then, because everything was changing so much. And I thought, well, it's probably my time to go too. And at the same time, I was headhunted into WEA, which is Warner Elektra Atlantic Records in Australia. They had just amalgamated all those labels and become one big record company under the name of WEA. And so that was in a product and marketing capacity, because I mean, I had a lot of knowledge of the pop industry.
Oh, yeah.
And for that reason, I got the job, and that turned out to be another mind-blowing time as well, you know, because we started in a little office in Riley Street in the city, and then it grew so big that we moved to Artarmon, to a brand new huge building. They used to call it the Brick Pit. It's like the industrial side of Artarmon, you know.
Oh, yeah, know it well.
Yeah. And, you know, of course, that entailed a whole lot of, preparing, getting, what do you call them, press things for all the touring, press releases, and the shows, you know, the media shows that you had to organise for all this. I mean, you know, there was the Rolling Stones, there was Jethro Tull, there was Led Zeppelin, and you know, I got to hang out with them. I got to meet them. They were all, you know, amazing people. The Stones were a bit of a difficult situation because they were without a manager, and so Peter Rudge came in as their tour manager, and he was one of those. Oh my gosh, everything had to be triple checked. You know, no matter how many times you did it, he was just so anal about it all.
Yeah.
It was exhausting. It was exhausting work. So I didn't actually get to meet the Stones because they had so much security around them, you know. So even when I went to London and walked into a job straight away at Atlantic Records, and the Stones were on Atlantic, they were doing their first tour of Europe in 10 years. And who's the money that ended up getting roped into the Rolling Stones tour, and I had no clue where all these places were in Europe.
Oh my gosh!
And it was very educational.
Oh my, yeah. I bet there's some stories that you can't tell.
Oh, look, actually, I am amazed. I had a wonderful secretary at WEA, Annie Robbins, who we've kept in touch over the years because we were very close. And Annie kept all of my letters that I wrote home from London with all the stories of what was happening. You know, there's a lot of in-house stuff, but there was also a lot of information about what was, you know, we went to see blah, blah last night. Van Morrison, we went to see, and the one that really sticks with me forever, I released John Prine's albums into Australia when I was at WEA. I heard them, and I was just gobsmacked at the talent, at the songs, the heart that he had. And it was just the stories again, you know, but the way he had with words. And I got to look after John Prine when he and Stevie Goodman came to London for the Cambridge Folk Festival. So yes, so we yes, we got to drive them around, drive them to the gigs, drive them back home, sitting around the pub, you know,
having potato and mashed peas or whatever they have over there.
Yeah. No, it was an extraordinary time.
Wow,
really.
How amazing! So, how old were you at this stage?
I was in my early 20s.
Okay.
Went to London when I was 22, I think. 22, 23. Yeah, 22. Yeah.
Wow.
That was a really big time. And of course, we also, at the end of that trip, went to Canada, not in any kind of official capacity. It was because our friends, the Flying Circus, were over there. The Hoadley's Battle of the Bands, the winners would always, you know, go to England because that was the place where, you know, like, who was it, Fraternity, or all the big bands that won the Hoadleys before that went to London. And but the Flying Circus decided they'd go to Toronto and try there. And in fact, it was a brilliant move for them because they actually did really, really well over there. And Autumn, the other guys, Tony Romerell from Autumn, and all that, the Autumn guys lived next door to the Flying Circus guys. It was only a short stay, but I managed to have a winter in Toronto. And I tell you what, as cold as London, no one, it was just, you just could not be prepared for the cold in Canada at Christmas.
Oh, wow. I've heard that. I've heard it's just almost unbearable cold. Yeah.
Yeah, it's freezing. Yes, and pretty much all the houses have furnaces in the basements, and so they, we could wander around the house in shorts and t-shirts basically because it was so well, central heating they called it. Yeah. And the taste of cable TV and all all of that amazing stuff, like hundreds of channels and nothing to watch basically.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
I remember my first visit to America and having all these channels. It's like, oh my God, but you flick through them and it's all rubbish.
I know. Even worse soaps than the ones that we got here in Australia.
Yeah. So when did you finish doing that stint in London?
Okay, well, look, after Canada, which was 1974, we came back to Australia. This is my ex-husband, Gary Adams. Okay. And we'd been to Werris Creek before, which is a little town out of Tamworth, because Gary's dad got the job as the bank manager there. So we'd been there quite a few times before we went away. Anyway, so we decided we didn't want to stay in the city anymore. We wanted to live in the bush, in the country, which was my upbringing. And so we actually went to Tamworth in 1974. At the end of the year, we packed up all our goods and chattels. And so I was there for the hold on a minute. No, it was 240. Sorry, I'm getting my years mixed up there. It was the 1973 festival. So basically, so from
So January 1973. Yep.
Yeah, January 1973, and I think the festival had only been going. So sorry, it was 74. So that was the first festival. The 73 festival was the first one that they had. I was 1 year shy of being there for the whole shebang.
Wow.
But what a life. It was wonderful. Tamworth, back in those days, it was only a small festival to start with, and very traditional, very Australiana, bush ballads. Yes, and I actually loved hearing all those Australian stories, because I mean, having grown up Italian, you have a whole other history, So I got to really love the whole era of Tamworth traditional music. And John was on the radio, and I loved him to death. I loved him dearly. Yes, but okay, so we were probably the first of the young breed, the new generation to move into Tamworth, because we'd heard there was a country music festival, and so did a whole lot of others, So within the space of maybe 2 to 3 years, there was a mass migration from Perth, the people that came over from all the other capitals, basically, because of the country music thing. Mm-hmm. And so there was this new generation. And of course, what we were doing, my ex-Gary started a band called the New England Rangers, which is the mountain range around Tamworth. But we were doing the new stuff. We were doing Emmylou Harris, Graham Parsons. We had a lot of you had to put some country standards in there. So we did that as well. But we had probably too much of the newer stuff that the oldies were going, that's not country music.
No, I haven't heard that before.
Yeah, I think they might have changed their mind.
Generation does that. Was that the start of your singing career? Had you,
no,
before?
I had. I always had an ear for harmony. The first radio I bought when working at H.G. Palmer, I bought my first transistor radio, and I would listen to this thing under the doona every night, and there was a break in transmission from a 2TM in Tamworth, where I picked up John Menson's Hillbilly Show in the middle of the night. Oh. And this was when I was 15. Little did I know that 10 years later I would be moving to Tamworth, and the Menson family would become my dearest friends. Mm-hmm. I've been in bands with, in fact, Laurie Menson was in the New England Rangers, as was Pixie Jenkins.
Oh, really? Pixie?
Yeah. Oh, so we all started together. It was an amazing time. Amazing. Yeah. Now let me think, what else is there to talk about? Okay. So I started session work because I had an ear for harmony, and I wasn't a lead singer then. I was hearing the harmonies. I'd hear Simon and Garfunkel, I'd hear the Everly Brothers, and how are they making that beautiful noise?
Yeah.
So I started to hear harmonies even before I was a lead singer, long before. So becoming a lead singer was a journey in progress as I gained confidence. But the session work definitely helped. And I think Lynette Guest, and Kate McCarthy, we had a trio called Scarlet, and we did a lot of the live radio work. There was a show called Must Be Country once a month on a Sunday at the Workers Club, and we did the backup vocals for everybody. We had to rehearse it all before going on stage. You didn't get time to rehearse with the artist. You had to get succinct within yourself. And the same thing happened for Terry Gordon's TV show. Now this name escapes me now, but the same kind of deal. And that actually, we all got solo spots on Terry's. So I was able to sort of, progress as a lead singer. In fact, we had Joy McKean come up to us one night after a performance, and she said, "Listen, how do you girls get that sound?" She wanted to know about harmony singing, because a lot of the time I think they did sort of a melody and then break into a harmony. But it wasn't like the three-part harmony that we were doing in the studios,
Yeah.
But it was wonderful back in those days. Like I said, it was a small festival. We all knew each other. We all supported each other, and sort of into the 80s. This is in the 70s. Actually, I remember Lynette Guest and I did vocals for Jean Stafford's, the first gold guitar that she got, the Glory Bound. We did the vocal. And so I have great pride in saying I was Jean Stafford's backup singer, maybe.
So when did it progress into you having your own albums and your full solo career?
Yeah, look, that was a long time coming, basically. With recording my own albums, I think I had to have the experience of being a wedding singer, a rock chick. We could not work. There was really only a handful of artists that were prepared to go on the road. Like Slim Dusty was the first independent artist. I mean, you look at what the work that those guys did, and they were always on the road. I wasn't prepared to be on the road because of I had two little ones. And so it wasn't just the country, the studio work that kept me going. We got into band work, pop stuff, and to do those covers where I had to stretch my range, I had to be more daring, more adventurous, and look, I actually loved all of it. So in the daytime, I was a hillbilly session singer, and on the weekends, I'd be a rock chick or a or whatever, but that actually developed my voice, I think, to the point where after the first brain tumor, I actually was bequeathed some money from a dear friend to record an album. And so that was a whole journey there.
Yes, so let's backtrack a little bit to that. So when did that actually happen, the first brain tumor?
It happened in 1991. Through the 80s, I was just doing, as I said, raising the children, doing the session work in pretty much all the studios in town. So that was my day job, and on the weekends I had what do they call it, a MIDI duo with my ex-husband Gary Adams, who was very technical, and he actually used to program all the backing tracks for us, and you'd be doing all the latest pop hits. There'd be the two of us, but we sounded like a massive band, and that went on for pretty much most of the 80s. and also with other bands in between, you know, and yeah. So, but at the end of the 80s, I started to feel really tired, really just, I couldn't, you know, I just, yeah. And I would be running, I couldn't sleep, I got insomniac, I had headaches, I just didn't know what was wrong, you know. So this was over a 2-year period from the late 80s. It was pretty much 2 years undiagnosed that I kept struggling with all the symptoms, and I'd keep presenting to the doctors, you know, but I'd forget to tell them that, because it affected my memory so badly, forget to tell the doctors that all this other stuff was going on. I'd keep presenting with new things, and in the end, there was an oval near my home in North Street, and I would be running up, you know, I became health fanatic, and I would be running, trying to knock myself out so that I could sleep at night, but it just, I just could not sleep. My brain was just going. In the end, I thought, now I know I'm not getting enough blood to supply to my brain. So I put a couple of bricks underneath the base of the bed at the end, and I thought, well, okay, if I'm lying down at that angle, I should be getting
blood will rush to your head. Yeah,
rush in. What in fact happened is I got up out of bed, and I actually fell out of bed. I fell out of bed, losing, you know, just completely dizzy. And I thought, okay, now this is not good. So I went to the doctor, and I just told him what I'd done, and he said, okay, well, let's do a CT, a CAT scan. And in those days, you know, I mean, it was still, well, it wasn't the greatest technology, but that was all that was around, basically. Yeah. And I could tell straight away, when looking up at the doctors, and they're all going, you know, with this concerned look on their face. And they told me, yes, it's a brain tumor. We've got to get you to St. Vincent's immediately. It was fairly large already. And yeah, well, my memories was completely just, it was like being in the moment. You could not concentrate on anything other than what was directly in front of you. And I was still doing session work. I don't know how, but it was quite easy because I just locked in. It was amazing. Yeah. But then I had no memory of it, you know, after that. So, yeah, so basically, yes, got to Sydney, got to St. Vincent's, and amazingly enough, I've got his name written somewhere. I need to find it. I was with the best neurosurgeon at St. Vincent's Hospital, and so because it was benign, it was operable. But, you know, it's very invasive surgery. I've got a corrugated head back here from the surgery.
I mean, you say you're lucky it was benign and they could operate, but sometimes there's benign tumours that they can't operate on, and can cause, you know, fatal problems. So
that's right.
You were lucky that it was operable, definitely.
Oh yeah. Look, it was
after that, Clelia, did you get back to, you know, your music, you know, within a short amount of time? How was the recovery?
It wasn't short that time. My memory was really completely just destroyed. I think basically it was a complete mental breakdown from having been undiagnosed for so long, and then go through the trauma of the surgery. And it took a couple of years, I think. And during that period, unfortunately, my marriage didn't survive. And at first, I had to regain my voice. So it's not just a matter of, you know, you can sing. It's about your whole overall health. So I really needed to get my full health back. And that took time. And when I was finally able to remember lyrics, I mean, I still use cheat sheets now, you know. But it took a couple of years. But look, my friend Angie Marquis used to come to Tamworth. We were good mates for years. And she would come up and do a weekend with me, because all the gigs that I'd been doing with Gary and as a band, they were all clamoring to have me back in the venues. So the work was there. But I had to do it like 1 month with Angie. And then when I got a bit more strength, I got my son Daniel and his two mates who were in year 12. at the time, and they were great musicians, you know, and I took them out to Moree and out to Walgett, you know, so they had a whole experience. But then because the HSC was coming up, we had to let that one go, but it got me back on my feet. And then I thought, this wonderful guy called Gary Brown, who's Cheryl's brother. Anyway, Brownie, we've known each other ever since I got to Tamworth, and he was just the most amazing guitar player. I put him up there. He was so shy, and he sort of devalued himself. You know, he didn't think he was as good as Tommy Emmanuel, and you know, because they grew up together. You know, the Browns and the Emmanuel boys. They came from Canada.
Oh,
and, yeah. So Gary then agreed to work with me as a duo partner, and so I tell the story that I was too lousy to pay for new posters, so I just got another Gary. Gary and Clell.
That's it. Oh, I love it.
So, you know, so that started probably 8 years of working with Brownie, and he was like my little brother, really. He was such a darling, on that killer smile, and a harmony singer. He was just the greatest harmony singer. He just sweetened everything up, and also he wanted to play rock stuff as well. He wasn't limited. Country was his thing, of course, having grown up in country, but he loved the rock stuff that we were doing. You know, we were doing Chisel, we were doing, you know, all the, you know, old time rock and roll, you know, the whole shebang of all the current rock hits. You had to have them to work in the pubs and clubs, and then because they were 4-hour gigs, I used to say to Gary, because he wasn't not comfortable. He didn't have the confidence to do lead. He loved harmony stuff, and because they were 4-hour gigs, and we'd do 3 in a row, I'd come, Brownie, you've got to start. You know, can you do a few tunes? Just do a couple more songs for me, you know. And he got very adventurous then, and he was doing Savage Garden and, you know, the stuff that was really popular, and he was learning to program himself as well. So we had a very, very successful duo, the two of us. But he used to make me laugh because, you know, we'd be at a gig, and of course he'd have all the girls swooning over him. There was always a queue to talk to him after the gigs, you know. And sometimes he was sitting there with someone, and I'd just saunter over and, you know, sit next to them and go, Clell, would you mind? You're cramping my style here. Granny shed. No, it was a wonderful partnership. And yes, I was very sad to sort of finish it all off when I moved away. So throughout the 90s, I was working with Gary Brown, and you know, I just feel really blessed to have had a fully professional career. You know, that I've been able to just work music. That's all I wanted, you know.
Yeah. So what happened after that?
Well, after that, I decided it was time to leave Tamworth, that basically I'd be just doing the same. I'd be going out west, you know, and it was a real adventure, because when I was married with the little ones, we had an hour limit around Tamworth where we'd work, so that we would be home at night. So now that the kids had moved on, and I just decided that I wanted to see some of Australia. So I got to go all out west, which you know, it was such an awakening, you know, working at places like Walgett and Banana and Lighton Bridge, and you know, there's some crazy stories out there. But so we had, you know, Brownie also, he wanted to come home after the gig. So often, you know, unless we were traveling on, like we'd finish up at Lightning Ridge on a Sunday afternoon, and Brownie would drive home. So you know, I would drive to, and he would drive home. So that was a pretty good deal, I thought. Yeah. So look, then I think there came a time where I just realised that really I would just keep doing the same if I didn't move. And I remember coming through the Northern Rivers in the late 80s at doing a festival at Ipswich or one of those, you know, and we came back through Byron Bay, and I had some of my friends that had moved to Lismore and the Northern Rivers, and they said, oh, it's God's own country, it's just so beautiful. And I went, come on, it can't be that good. Down it sure was. It was like just one night in Byron Bay that on the way back to Tamworth, and I was convinced this is where I needed to come. And it all sort of fell into place. My house in Tamworth sold. My agent, Marie and Gary Robertson in Tamworth, her sister lived at Bangalore, and she had a house at Ocean Shores and was looking for a tenant. And so it's like one thing after another just fell into place. And my friend Tracy, who was married to Laurie Minson, also had their marriage fall apart. So Tracy moved. It was like Thelma and Louise. We're heading for the coast. I can be a beach bunny during the day and a rock chick at night or whatever, you know. Yeah. I get up here and it's 3 months of rain the whole time. The first 3 months, yeah. So I established myself up here, which was wonderful. And this is about when I started thinking more of recording again. The Fine Company album that you would have heard that I did after the first brain tumour was more country blues, some standards, some.
I love that. I've been playing it in my car.
I'm so glad. Well, that was recovering. That was sort of a statement of progress, having regained my voice. I know I was over singing like mad, but you know, I wanted to be a singer that moved people the way that these singers like Etta James and Sarah Vaughan and those girls, you know, they just Ella Fitzgerald, you know, that the tone and the emotion, you know. So I did that album, but it was very difficult to sell that to a country audience or even to a rock and roll audience, you know.
Well, like you, I do a mix of material.
Yes.
I've known in the country scene, but I've done, you know, the same as you. I've done the rock, the pop, the jazz, the whole thing.
Well, it makes us a broader artist, I think, you know. Yeah. And you know, because you're listening to tone, the tones that in all the different styles. There's tone. I'm a tone junkie. What can I say? And emotion. You know, that it's got to come from the heart.
Yeah, I think that's why Patsy Cline was so popular, because
Patsy
with all that.
And Emmylou. They were the two mainstays for me in terms of country, because they were accessible to the voice that I was developing. You know, Emmylou, her the harmonies and the things, and her sensitivity was just profound for me. And Patsy's just the sheer emotion that she was able to put into a song is just gobsmacking. So, yeah, when you've got to learn from the best, Kel, you know that.
Definitely. Yeah. So you're up at Mullumbimby.
Yes.
Now? And so when did you actually move there, did you say? How long ago?
In the year 2000, I moved.
2000, okay. So you then recorded the next album?
I did it in 2001. Yep. And my reason for going straight country then was Nick Irby said to me one time, he said, Clell, you've got to stop singing that rock and roll shit and get back to country music where you belong.
Oh, it sounds like Nick.
Yeah. Well, he had a point, because I was so diverse with what I was doing that people didn't know what they were getting. So basically I went back to country, which is what I love the most. And if you can't find something within that umbrella of country music that has is represented by so many genres now, if you can't find something good, well, you're deaf, basically. So I was able to satisfy all my rock and rolls, you know, part of me with the honky tonk and the Mavericks, and you know, just so much great stuff, you know. So that's where I've been pretty much for the the last 22 years. So I did that Bring It On album, which had, I was trying to do an Emmy Lou, and I did a version of Downtown Train, Tom Waits, and, you know, just still unusual stuff. But then there were Hanks and Patsy songs, and so that was really good. But then the next one, that was with the Bring It On album, I started to release internationally. There was a friend of mine that was on community radio, and she put me onto Ross Allen at Hillcrest in Canada.
Yeah.
And he encouraged me to think globally, act local, think global. And I started releasing songs from, in fact, Speed of the Sound of Loneliness, with John Prine song from that album. And it charted straight away, and pretty much everything I released charted immediately. And I thought, whoa, something's going on.
And on a regular basis, because I had some stuff overseas at the same time. I had some stuff over in the UK and on their worldwide chart and stuff as well. So I would see your name, and I'd see you moving up and up and up the charts all the time. And it was like for a long, long time.
It started happening immediately. And so it took Australia a while. But the next album I did, which was Heartbeat Highway, it was basically all the covers that I was doing at live shows. And I sent it to John Arnold at the Mildura Festival, and he rang me straight away. And it's like, yeah, you're in. So that's really when I started promoting in Australia. It was 2005, I think, 2005, that I went to my first Mildura. And everyone just loved all that stuff. And I thought, okay, I'm on the right track here. I'm on the right track.
They brought back the festival now, because as you know, they stopped it for a little while, but the festival is back on. And it's a great festival for young artists starting off in the industry as well.
Absolutely.
You're doing, 24, 25 shows in 10 days.
Yes.
And the audiences are there. And you've got the opportunity of CD sales, but it's the experience, because you've got to do, half an hour here, an hour there, 20 minutes there, 10 minutes there, go back over to that place, do this, you're on the go all the time.
Oh man, yeah, I remember.
It's exhausting.
You all end with clagged voices by the end of it, because inevitably, these freezing cold southerly would blow in, and
the winds.
Scarves and jackets, leather jackets, but we'd still have to perform,
I've been in my coat many times performing.
I know. We all came home with some virus or other. Yeah, but look, but the thing was, Mildura actually inspired me to start songwriting, because I heard the other artists writing, singing their stories, and I'm going, oh, I can do that. So I had a go at songwriting, and I got about, I think, 6 or 7 of my songs on my Wildflowers album. Yes, and so that was the beginning of the songwriting thing for me, and it was a wonderful era, because I from the session singing, I had all these formulas in my head of songs, right? You got your verse, your chorus, you put your bridge, blah, blah, blah. So many. And I just realized, really, I have to write my own stories to the formula that I have in my head of songwriting. And there's many different ways, too. Writing a song from what perspective, from first person, second person, but it's the story songs, you see, that I relate to the most, and really were probably the foundation of more success that as I went along. The songs that I wrote were getting to #1 in Europe. I know. Just like everything I released was like #1, and
Yeah, you were up at #1 for a long, long time. As I said, I was on the charts too, and I was watching where you were going. It's like, oh, right, you're still there. Yeah, I know, you did so well.
It's been an amazing journey, and I found my musical family here. There's so many fantastic musicians, and I was probably the first mainstream country artist to be working around the traps here. Most of them are pop and rock and singer-songwriters. That's the folk element is quite big here. But probably I was the first to introduce, like full on all genre, all styles of country to audiences here, and it went really well. I had a burst appendix in 2008, so
Awesome.
I had to stop lugging all that gear around and doing the solo shows, and I've got my first band together, and the River Valley Express, and wonderful musicians, Rod Coe and Jason, and all the great country people that
Yeah.
that I
Wow.
found. And also I became part of the Uke Mullum shows, which because these are all the musicians that I work with that work at Uke Mullum, and we were doing a show a month, new songs. And the thing was, it was so easy, Kel, because all the songs that they were doing at the Uke nights were all songs I used to sing as a rock chick back in the 80s and 90s. So I didn't have to learn an awful lot.
That's good. It's always a blessing.
Oh, it is. So I have this amazing, beautiful family here in Mullum, and the whole Northern Rivers, a beautiful community in Lismore.
Yeah.
The only trouble is now the floods have been sort of completely devastated the older generations that are running the country music clubs. Our Mullum one has finished now because a few of them got flooded out, and they've moved away, and they're all in their 80s. And we lost Marge Graham,
Yes.
who was an icon around here for all this time. Yes, we lost her in the floods, and so it's been pretty devastating. I'm not in a position at the moment where I want to get back out in front of an audience in a big hurry, because I'm writing, and that's sort of taking up so much of my time with research and timeline, getting the timeline right, because so much went on that. But I've got a lot of reference points. I was quite anal in keeping press clippings from years and years ago. So I've got these books that were put together by a friend of all the press clippings that I kept. And so I was cobbling stories from memory, and also with the information of dates and who was involved. And, so there's all that. And I'm still only halfway through. I'm just about getting to the first brain tumor.
So this is your memoirs that you're referring to, that you're writing. So yeah, that is keeping you busy. But talking about the brain tumors, when did the second one happen?
Well, look, amazingly enough, 217.
Okay.
Okay. What had happened? I had hand surgery just to remove some a little lump that had grown between my fingers, and again, I was feeling really wiped out, really tired, and I started to get because of the physio I was doing with my fist. I had to lean it up against the fridge and press it down to get that tendon. Stretch the tendon in the first finger up. That tendon goes right up into the base of the neck, and I was getting migraines doing the physio for my hand, and I'm thinking, this is weird. I kept going back to the physio, and they kept giving me different exercises to do, but nothing stopped the migraines, and really, really bad. So in the end, I thought, okay, well, the only thing left, I'd sort of been to specialists and doctors, and the only thing left was to have an MRI, just in case it was a brain tumor. Sure, the MRIs are so much more efficient with diagnosis, and sure enough, there it was. There must have been just a skerrick left of the one that I had, a remnant, because CT scans are not as as succinct as
clear. No.
And so there it was, and it's like, okay, so we have to go through this again. But this time, it didn't affect me as adversely as the first one. I didn't have the complete memory loss, and I mean, yes, it was awful, but I was in a different situation here. My husband Rolly was just so supportive, and he he was just amazing. He'd massage my legs and my all the stuff that I couldn't do, moisturize my legs, and do the cooking, and all that. But it still took a while. I mean, brain fog is the big one. Brain fog. When I get tired, even now, I can wipe myself out. with just fatigue, you know, just too much too much information.
Yeah.
I'm on the screen. It'll bring on the brain fog. So I still go carefully.
Yes, because 2017, that's not that long ago.
No.
And when I saw you in 2019, that was one of your first performances.
Yes.
Post that tumour. So yeah. I remember you were feeling a bit unsure because again, you had to train your voice up again.
That's right, because it's a whole mechanism. It's not just, it's getting enough air into your diaphragm, it's your breath, it's, your whole physical well-being, because this mechanism is what, we have to look after that, because that's the air's got to come through and it's got to have enough strength and, all of that stuff. But I'm feeling good about performing now. I went and did a weekend away with Catherine Jones, my old compadre down in Kempsey. Yeah. Had a wonderful time, but she's an angel to sing with. I keep saying to her, she's my good karma for all the years I spent in the studios making everybody else sound good. She makes me sound good.
That's beautiful. Yeah, so the memoirs, that is keeping you busy, and then like you said, you're going to do your singing as you feel fit to do it.
That's right. When there's something on that I'm not interested in doing 3-hour gigs. That's long gone. And I'm not sure if I'll get to Tamworth. It's still a bit, everything's hanging in the air a bit, And also I recognise the change of generations now, that the new music that's coming through is, it's country pop. It's not really my thing. And so I wonder where what I would like to do, it fit in recording. Where would it fit in?
Well, Mildura, they still do our sort of music in Mildura.
Yes.
So that is one festival that you should give. Well, I don't think John's doing it anymore. I'm not sure who's organising it, but maybe you could put your name down for next year or the year after or something. Whatever you want to do.
We'll see how we go.
Yeah. But other than that, you're right. It's a different to how it was.
Yes,
and that's the way it should be too. It's progress. There's all different music coming in, and
every generation needs to define themselves, and this is what they're doing. Hopefully, I'm hearing a lot of very great roots artists too. Sierra Farrell and some of these young ones that are just so steeped in the roots of country that I go, yeah. There's hope.
Yeah.
Right.
Is there anything that you haven't done that yet to achieve, something on your wish list that you still want to do apart from your memoirs?
Look, at the moment, not even really thinking too far ahead. I mean, the interesting thing about this memoir, would you believe, Kel-Anne, there was a young girl that used to come into the Go Set office, Diana O'Neill, her name is, and she would spend every sports day with her friend Monica. They would come into the Go Set office and hang with me and, meet all the stars. And Diana would always say, I want to be you when I grow up. Diana is now one of the biggest publicists in Sydney. She brings she promotes a lot of the artists that are on the morning shows, the big names.
Yeah.
And I say to her now, I want to be you.
I want to grow up to be you, yeah.
She is my publicist on the memoir.
Beautiful. Oh, how good is that? Oh my gosh.
So look, there's a lot to go yet. I mean, I'm only on the first draft. I've got to finish it, then I've got to rewrite. I mean, I can see already reading the older stuff, because I did the Italian, growing up Italian, the Go Set days, the Warner Brother days, the Tamworth days, and then the Mullumbimby days yet to come. Yes. So a lot to go
there. Well, I've seen bits and pieces on Facebook. I've seen some of your posts, and there's the stories. I'm like, gosh, because you say, here's a little bit more about Go Set Dave, and then I've read some bits. It's like far out things that you. Like when there was that car accident that you had when the car rolled and you were with all the stars, and it's like, oh my God.
I know. It's amazing. Oh,
yeah. Gosh. Yeah. So I wish you all the best with your memoir, and I'm looking forward to seeing the finished product.
Thank you.
Now people can buy your CDs.
Yes.
Is it from your website?
They can go to my website. Yes,
Okay.
cleliaadams.com. Everything's there.
I will put it in the comments too, Clell, so people can see. They can just click on it and then go and have a look.
Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
This has been wonderful. There was probably so many stories I could have told, but maybe we'll do that another day.
I know. I mean, we could have a part one, and let this one be part one. We'll have part two. Maybe when the memoir's finished.
Oh, definitely.
Definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
But no more brain tumors, please.
Oh, please. Actually, the doctors assured me that they got it all this time, and they said if it does come back, it'll be in 30 years' time, and you won't give us stuff anyway.
Okay.
So I'm going with that.
Yeah. Anyway. But yeah, thank you so much. Talk about perseverance in your life, and also over this internet issue, and but you finally did it. You're on all your books with your iPad, and we found a way. So
awesome.
It's
Thanks,
just been wonderful to learn more about you.
Oh, thank you, and you too. You know, we run parallel, really, don't we?
I know. Oh, amazing. Yeah. Oh gosh.
Wonderful. Well, we do another show together one of these days. But I have a feeling my darling Gina, I think this might be her last festival. She's also, I think she's might be moving into politics. I'm not sure. In Tasmania. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but it's like, I think, you know, like I'm 72 now. So I think, you know, a lot of artists are feeling the generational change, and, you know, we'll find our little posies, you know, we always do.
Yeah. And we change too. We have different things that interest us. You know, look at me now. I'm doing the singing, I'm doing the life coaching and wellness, and I'm doing all these different things. So that's life, isn't it? We grow and expand. And your story, my goodness, all how you grew to where you are now with all the different things you did. That's just a beautiful part of life. So
well, it is, and it all contributes to who we are now. All of it. Yes. Yeah. That's wonderful. Wonderful. Lovely to have this time with you, Kel-Anne.
Thank you, Claire. Well, don't go away. I'm going to say goodbye to everyone on Facebook, but and YouTube, but I'm going to continue to say goodbye to you. Okay. So but thank you everybody for tuning in today, and I wish you all a wonderful rest of the day and a wonderful weekend. And I think I'll be back on next week. Yes, I will. Trying to think of the name of my guest for next week. I think I've got Vicky next week, so but I'll keep you posted about that. But have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you soon.